Hello, and welcome to Capstone Sprint 2, level prototype. My name is Desiree Champlin, and this is Firefox Games. Open successfully. Opening the project, you will see the main menu with its 6 buttons. There is a slight issue with the middle 3 buttons not fully working as intended. Some of the code switched and the buttons don't fully go where they should. But now, as we enter the actual game, you see a dimly lit room with posters on the wall of the different types of zones within our game. The ferret thing we see is a podium meant for the players to save their progress within the game when they choose to save when they return from a zone. We then make our way down the stairs past the floating crystal. As we head to the forest zone, you will notice a practice area for the player to practice some of the obstacles that may appear in the zone. Now we continue down the path to the green crystal. Upon getting close, a screen appears asking if the player wants to teleport to the forest zone. The player can select yes or no and then can walk away. Upon selecting yes, the player is then teleported to the forest. Once you are in the zone, you will see a checkpoint and an obstacle known as the swinging arm bars. I have added red lights to the obstacle. Now I will demonstrate the lose condition of the game while showcasing some of my zone's obstacles. The first obstacle is the tilting platforms that was discussed in the last Capstone video. Once across, we see a little island with another checkpoint. We also see the next obstacle, which is rotating floating logs. As we cross this dangerous section, we have time the jumping and control of the character movement. If we aren't careful, we may fall, lose a life and respawn at the last checkpoint we passed. Once we are across, we automatically see 2 checkpoints and 2 different paths and yet another zone crystal that we need to collect. After collecting the crystal, we then head down the path with the bombs. Be careful when you are jumping because if you misjudge your jump and hit the bomb, you lose a life. Once you lose all of your life, you will see the game over screen. You can either quit the game or restart the game. If you choose restart, you will restart the entire game and be brought back to the main menu. I will run back to the forest zone. Once we are back into the forest zone, I play through the zone as intended. Once we get to the island with 2 different pathways, the player will decide on which way to go. I chose the middle path over the bombs. As we progress over the bombs, we saw rolling spiked logs we have to dodge, all the while making sure we collect our zone crystals. After making it past the rolling logs, we can either go to the right and collect those level crystals or go left towards the end of the zone. Towards the end you will see swinging boulders and a tall pillar you have to jump up. The green circular platforms are representing leaves. After we dodge the boulders and climb up the tree, we must cross the wooden bridge to the other side. Once across, we collect the last crystal. We go to the end crystal and the screen will appear asking if you want to teleport back to the forest hub. Upon clicking yes, we are teleported back to the main area where we see 2 different crystals. The one near the ground is the forest level main crystal. The other crystal allows us to visually see that we have finished the forest zone and collected enough crystals. I do hope you enjoy the rest of the video and thank you for watching.
Hello, I will be talking about our level. I am in Firefox Games. My name is Brandon, and I'm just gonna pull up here the game where it starts, Beyond the Jump. So once we get in, we're gonna hit start, and then make my way to my level. So as you see, my level is the desert level, which is this one, and I have zero crystals at the moment. So I'm gonna make my way to my crystal area. And I'm going to talk more about my game. So, once we get there, so you want to go to desert level, desert zone, yes. So your job is to go around and collect crystals. Now, there's different crystals in the game. So, let's get this, I already got a checkpoint there. So those are going to be checkpoints. They'll be looking a lot better soon. But as you can see, it starts off with saying, hey, there's quicksand, don't go there. So my idea is to introduce the player to what the quicksand is and that what color it is, what does it look like. So now the player can know, okay, I need to jump over these quicksands. And then as you see, I got a checkpoint and those are the crystals. So basically, you just introduce the player, that the player can go ahead and practice and go through the quicksand and make their way. If you go and touch it, it will make the player fall and you will lose a life. So you go to the next area. This is the part where you will have to master it. So you will have to jump around and not touch the quicksand so you don't fall and die. Once you get into the quicksand, you can no longer get out. I want to see if there's a way we can maybe jump, but I think that doing it that way would probably be better. So, this is the first part of the level, and I chose quicksand because it's definitely a deserty level, stuff you will see in the desert. And the next one is a falling rock. So you'll start to see the rock start to fall, it'll bounce around for a second, and then it will just respawn back to where it is, and then there's another crystal. I have another rock that is supposed to be here. It is, I think I have something, yeah, it's just a teleport for some reason. It just teleports down, so I need to fix that. But that's supposed to fall on you. You're supposed to get out of the way, try to make your way out. And then next is the falling rocks who are supposed to come down at you. So you just run as fast as you can before they come on down. For some reason, I have been having so much trouble with these falling rocks. And I have no idea why they don't want to work the way I want them to. They're supposed to just fall down. Once they hit the ground, they bounce for like 2 seconds, and then they respawn back. And they're supposed to fall and repeat. I don't know why it chooses not to do it. Only on certain, like right now, it's doing what it's supposed to do. But as you see in the beginning, it didn't want to, and now they're just all over the place, and now they're not. So I'm gonna have to figure out if I can get some feedback on how to fix this. That would be awesome. Like maybe do I have to put them in event play? Do I have to put a loop in it? I don't know. I have to figure it out. Next is the cactus. So these are the cactus. If you touch their arms, they will. Oh, let me get this checkpoint in case I hit them. If already got it. If you hit these cactus, you will lose a life, and you will have to go to respawn. If you touch the cactus arms. So touching the cactus itself is not going to do anything, as long as you don't touch their arms. So that was just the introduction, and then we have the practice here. So my biggest thing about this was making the level. Making the level was probably one of the hardest things for me, because I just wanted to make sure that I had the level situated. So this part, I want to make the cactus a little more, maybe if I make them faster, I was thinking, but make these like go up faster, like like that, so it's a little harder for the player to figure out how to get through them. And so that was my idea, what I'm planning on. And next is you're just gonna go through all three. So you just make your way. I think these are two. Yeah. So these, I found out these quicksands a little bit too long, so I'm gonna have to fix those. And then there is a bug at the moment where if you do go into my quicksand, it changes the mobility of the player and makes them jump higher. I think it takes away the gravity. So what it does is when I go in to the quicksand, it changes the gravity to I think I switch it to 0, and then once you leave, it changes it back to 1. So I think what I should do is change the gravity back to 0 because there shouldn't be any gravity, and I think that's what's causing our player to jump that high. But once you finish all of my levels, you go to you say, do you want to teleport back to Desert Zone? For some reason, not for some reason, the widget doesn't go away, but once you hit no, it will go away. And then once you're here, you go back here, you go back to the hub, you collect the crystal, because you got all 5 of them collected, and then it switches the crystal into the desert crystal, which is super cool. So there it spins. So you can then go back to the hub, you can go to the forest, the volcano, the ice area, and finish the game that way. Just gonna show, if you go all the way to the top, it will show how many crystals were collected. So I hope you enjoy, and that is our game. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Jonah, and this is my segment of the level prototype submission. So as you can see, I'm in Perforce. This is the build that we have uploaded here. Go to start, and then the level that I worked on for this sprint is a volcano level, kind of mountainous terrain, which is over here. You can see that for the color choice, with the prototype grid, we just use like grays, tans, oranges. We go here, and we get teleported in, and this is going to be the start of the level. For the placeholder assets and blocked out level structure segment of the game loop requirements, I made sure to fill the level with placeholders, both basic shapes and generic assets from one of our 4 asset folders that we have for rapid prototyping. And then I also used the landscape tool. That way I was able to quickly block out areas and space things apart. For the core design pillars, the core gameplay mechanics of a platformer are present in both movement and obstacles. The player is empowered by the ability to make decisions and overcome challenges. Players are rewarded for completing each level with crystals, which I'll show as I play through the level here, that help them win the game, and immersion is kept by having a bug-free environment. So I'll go here. You see the player is drawn towards the path normally. They see it's blocked, jump up here, and we have the first of the checkpoints. And this will kind of open up to the first start area. You can clearly see the mountain or volcano in the distance, a tower over there, and then collectibles to encourage the player to interact with different parts of the surroundings. These are side paths that are not required to complete the level, but give the player more chances to move around and get comfortable with the mechanics. Ways that the player can win in this game are by grabbing collectibles, reaching the level end crystal, overcoming obstacles, reaching checkpoints, and moving through the level fast enough to reach the secret area before the time door shuts. The player can lose by missing jumps, which costs them progress. Falling in lava teleports them back to the last checkpoint, and progressing too slowly to reach the secret area is another way that the player can lose. The level length is on average 3 to 5 minutes, depending upon the player, and the bug-free environment has been achieved through lots and lots of playtesting and runs through. So far, I haven't found any bugs in this current build. I've been able to get on top of troubleshooting them as they come up, but I'm sure there's 1 or 2 that I haven't gotten yet, which I'll have to add to Confluence. So the player is naturally guided kind of as they come into the second area towards this large bridge structure, which you can see I used a placeholder asset for. You see some lava down below, and the player cannot get across. We'll teleport the player back, and we'll follow this side path. We have an optional area over here the player can jump to with some extra collectibles. We continue down the path here. We have a bit of a canyon with lava down below. Having vertical changes with the jumping, showing the escalation of the gameplay as you proceed. Sorry, I'm just going to adjust my document real quick here. And for the flow and pacing going into the level principles, you can see that the level guides the player using these paths. Collectibles as breadcrumbs. You see like there's one floating here. It gives the player an idea that there's going to be a platform here even when it's tucked away. And then the player progresses through the level having increased amounts of danger. So in that first area, failing meant the player had to get back up. In this area, failing now means that the player falls in the lava and loses some progress. We also have these larger collectible crystals, which I just grabbed, which are going to be useful for level completion towards the end. And then now we have our next form of escalation, which are timed falling platforms, which fall after a quick delay and an audio cue, with 3 seconds before they respawn. We have more side areas here just to encourage the player to interact with the level, and then we have a split path right here, which gives the player one of several choices that are available, each having its own challenges. The side over there being more difficult with no static ground to stand on, but in part having more collectibles that you can get. So we have another one of the mandatory red crystals up here. More structures to keep the player kind of engaged with where they are. And then as we cross over here, we see another use of these falling platforms, much larger size, as the player goes and navigates across, as if the floor is falling from underneath them. As we go back up here, we can look back and see the other end of the broken bridge that we saw at the start of the area, and the first area of the level originally back there. As I outlined in my Confluence and Jira pages, the visual cohesion is achieved by having the terrain slowly transform from greens down to grays and then oranges with the lava as it becomes more present in the level. As we go here to the final area, you see the secret door back there, which is closed now because it's been too long. But that is the main choice that the player can have if they want to speed through the level or replay the level to try and get here to the secret door with extra collectibles inside, or if they want to take their time and gather more around the rest of the level. For player feedback, there's UI, as you can see when I go over the checkpoints here that tell you that the spawn has been updated, and then the collectibles counter in the top, as well as in the top center there being a timer. There are also symbols on the different platforms, allowing the player to distinguish ones that move from ones that fall before they even interact with them. As you can see with the X's here, with a red color used for danger, and then a more neutral color of blue used to show that the platform is moving. You can also see that the terrain is becoming more and more dangerous as we're in this final area. There's gaps and holes along the path. And we have another split path here that the player can choose between, going on either side. This side offering more crystals, but having much farther jumps. And this also ties into the last of the level principles, which I'm going to go over, which is the gameplay progression, where you can see the game get more difficult and the cost of messing up increasing as the player goes through the level. So now when we're in this final area, it's going to be several back-to-back jumps at a much farther height, requiring the player to do sprinting jumps, which is done by hitting the shift button, and then falling will restart them right back here. So with these tough few jumps back to back, this kind of makes up the final challenge of the level, the highest point of the skill. Moving away from the timed part where you have to jump quickly and into making it so that it has to be multiple back to back that are of high difficulty. And as you move around here, see the final crystal, and then the end part of the level right here, which will teleport you back to the hub. So upon spawning, you'll see one of these crystals, as there were in all the other levels. It plays this cutscene animation, and now this area will be crossed off in order to complete the game, which requires you to go into all the different level zones, require all the collectibles, and then get one of these floating crystals at the top. And then what that looks like will be shown in a separate clip later, but that's it for my segment. Thank you for watching.
Hi, I'm Eddie Velasquez, and today I'm going to be walking you through the level that I made for Firefox Games project Beyond the Jump. So we go ahead and open up the build here. Now when we start the game, the player is going to be inside of this little wizard's tower, and from there, when we come out here, we've got this little hub world that has access points to different areas around the game world. And we're going to go take a look at the swamp, which is the area that I was working on this sprint. So if we come over here, the player is going to activate the crystal, teleport over to the swamp, and when we teleport to the swamp, the player is given only one direction forward. So by interacting with the checkpoint, or excuse me, with the mechanic, they can make their way forward. And here we've got the little bit of the lighting over there, kind of letting the player know, and those little floating golden spores that light up the area a little bit to show them, hey, come this way. But there's also the allure of these little purple crystals that are for collecting and don't actually progress the game in any way. They're just there for the player to collect and get a higher score if they choose to. They're completely optional. Here's another one of those little floating spores. So making our way around, we cross over. We've left the introductory zone, which is very simple, long-lasting platforms. As you can see, that one's still up. And we're going to move over now into the practice zone. And so that green crystal that was just picked up is one of the actual level crystals. It has the same shade and color as the big crystal that got us here. Now from here we start to introduce the character, or excuse me, the player to some more of the actual obstacles. There was the actual loss condition. You'll see that if the player touches the water, they're reset back to a checkpoint. And one more thing to point out is from here you can actually see off into the distance the mastery section that the player will eventually make their way to. And it is completely inaccessible from here. So moving forward, see if we can clear that. I gotta get my timing down right. There we go. Little challenging, a little bit more challenging, probably use a little bit of tweaking, but once the player makes their way, they can come over here. This lit up area, you know, shows a bonus that the player can grab if they want. And we have more of these golden spores lighting up that golden path for us. So we'll make a little hop over here. And there's a second of the green crystals. We have currently right now a plan for the player to need to collect 5 of the associated crystals within each of the levels. And when that happens, we will show you what happens at the end of this. So here the player has an option. They can either choose to come out this way, which I will do, and grab this bonus crystal, completely optional, or they can take the safer path and just go around that way. We're going to be daring. So there they have that, and it all leads up to the same spot. Our player's going to come over here, make their way up, and here's crystal number 3. Again, here we have another branching path for the player to take if they want to, completely optional again. We're going to go and be daring again. And here is the player's introduction sort of to the red mechanic spores, because they're not anywhere in the practice zone except here. They're totally optional for the player, and so they don't have to actually engage with them. Now, from the mechanics presentation, you might remember that those are actually the fastest of the platforms and will disappear the quickest. And we will see a lot more of those coming up here in the mastery section. So the player also is going to be getting that feedback as they go along. You've been hearing those spores. They've been disappearing as the player lets them, or as they run their course and their time runs out. We have another optional objective over here. We'll go ahead and snatch that up, see if we can make it back before the spinner gets us. And with that, the player is now moving on into the mastery section. Now here in the mastery section, it gets even harder than it was in the practice section. The practice section, we introduced those yellow spores, made it a little bit quicker, started throwing obstacles at the player as well as the mechanic. Here we're going to take all of that and we're going to turn it up a little bit. Now there is less safe space for the player to go through, and they will actually have to utilize the mechanic to get by. And here we'll see that these are really, really quick. And the danger is greatly increased. Time this right. There we go. And again, we see this crystal. That should be number 4 along the way. We'll hit number 5 here shortly. And these are what is going to trigger our victory condition for the level. Again. Now here we have the other side path. We're going to go over here. We're going to grab a checkpoint and zip back before it goes away to get the optional objective. Now if you choose to come over here and get the optional objective before hitting that checkpoint, you'll actually miss out on being able to get that checkpoint over there. And you'll be forced to continue this way, and if you don't make it, you'll be starting back over there again. So there's a risk to choosing to do this. And we have another little spicy section here. And here the player is met with another choice. They can choose to hop on over here or there. If they come this way, they're presented with an obstacle to get them over to another crystal. It's a little bit of a challenge to get back. Here's our 5th and final crystal that we need to complete the level. And from here you've got more of these golden spores kind of pointing it out. And you can see over there in the distance, lit up, this whole little path here is lit up for the player, showing, hey, kind of head in this direction. And you've got those spores kind of floating around all the tree right there, lighting it up. Come over here, hop along, and we're going to go ahead and try to snatch that up too. Ooh, almost overshot that. And we've got our last little bonus crystal for the level. And then the player can continue along to complete the level. And here I wanted to give the player another sort of a quick choice. They have a choice, they need to make it quickly. Do you jump through the obstacle or do you try to go through there? And so it gives that player the choice, hey, which way are we going to go? Careful here, don't want to lose my last life. On the last life, the player will in fact be reset. You have the option to restart the game. Which should have been demonstrated sooner. There's a little bit of a hidden platform. It's sort of kind of acting as a bit of a kind of a freak out moment for them a little bit if they jump there and they go, oh man, where am I supposed to go to next? Well, it's actually just right there for them. Got this little guy over here too. I always forget about this little guy. And with that, we've now collected all of the crystals. We'll be hopping along here. These are mostly for show, just kind of like that final gatekeeper that's not really much of anything. And from there, we return. Now, once we've returned, we go ahead and we collect this crystal right here, and it will add and multiply itself and grow, and that is the conclusion of the swamp level that I worked on. Thank you for your time.
All right, so this is my level 4 milestone to get the latest from the depot. All right. I am naturally terrible at obstacle course games. And yesterday I sliced my thumb open, my jumping thumb, so it is currently bandaged and in a finger brace. So this has been a frustrating evening, to say the least. So yeah, here we go. So for the flow and pacing of my level, I did the fairly standard IPM situation with one obstacle there with the one thin ice platform, and then the spikes here that the player can use the interactive snowball on. The one rolling snowball to show the player they do in fact roll and try to kill you. And then the interaction with the snowballs with the water. And I'm not sure why that did not stop, but... And of course you have the crystal collection. And I put that little secret area there if the player wants to go for the bonus crystals, they can. Or if not, that's fine too. And I died. Alright. Hey, this is the last time it's dying. Alright, this is the transition area, and this is the practice area here with 4 snowballs that are on a loop rolling downhill. And the player just has to dodge them all and get up here. Alright, and then this is the second transition. As far as visuals, this is the whole level is meant to represent ice, so I think that I have achieved that with the color tones and everything. And then we have a level split here. The player can choose, giving the player some agency on which way they want to go. This is the water path, this is the icicle path, and I will demonstrate the water path because there is a bonus. And each one has, this one has one large one that is on a loop, this one has 3 small ones that are faster on a loop. And I died. And let me give myself some more lives here real quick because I will use them all. So then I put a little secret floor here. I don't know. Not necessarily to be a secret necessarily, but I wanted it to feel like a secret. And why aren't you rolling? There we go. Alright, there was a spike there that would block the player from getting here from that way. Now I gotta try and get... Oh, no. Yeah. Okay. So this is meant to be the mastery section. And yeah, so it gives the player has a few different choices throughout the level on which way they can go. I don't know why that one flattened, but that's weird. And then as far as player feedback goes, did I collect 5? I did collect 5, yay! And then you collect 5 crystals and come out, and it's now completed and restored the power to the crystal as part of the main game. So, yeah, good. Thanks for watching. I think that's everything. Let me check this here real quick. Yeah, that looks like everything. So, I hope you enjoyed the demonstration of my glacier level as part of this obstacle course game. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a good one. Alright, so here goes. You'll see in the background I have collected the rest of the level crystals. I am here to show the win condition, which is to collect all 5 level crystals, which are these large crystals here, from the individual obstacle course levels. And after each win, you'll see this little cutscene, and then this is the final cutscene with the world crystal popping up, set to raise after all 5 crystals are collected, and the player has beaten the game and restored the I guess magical power to the world crystal and saved his magical world of obstacle courses. So that's the game. Thanks for watching and hope you enjoyed it.